called to order. This work session, regular meeting of the Township Council is called to order. In accordance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meeting Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, be advised that this adequate notice of the work session, regular meeting of the Township Council of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, was made by the posting on the bulletin board of the municipal complex and transmitted to the officially designated newspapers a list of dates annually indicating that this work session, regular meeting, would take place at the Franklin Township Municipal Complex at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, August 8th, 2017. In addition, a copy of this notice has been available to the public and is on file in the clerk's office at the municipal complex. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by an invocation by Councilwoman Chanel Robinson. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
O God, the creator and redeemer of all the faithful, hear our supplications, and through thy infinite love and mercy, graciously grant us the strength and power in our thoughts and decisions to the benefit of all people at all times.
Thank you. Madam Master Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Chase?
Here.
Councilwoman Francois?
Here.
Mayor Kramer?
Here.
Councilman Onijaka? Councilman Prasad?
Here.
Councilwoman Robinson?
Here.
Councilwoman Sherman? Councilman Vastanella? Deputy Mayor Wright?
Thank you. We have no commendations or proclamations. Public discussion is next, but before public discussion, freeholder Peter Palmer is here, and he'd like to say a word. So hopefully the mic is on. I don't think the mic is on. We'll get it on in a second.
Good evening. Peter Palmer, Somerset County Freeholder Director. It's my real pleasure to be here. I've decided that this is my final year as a freeholder, that I will visit all 21 municipal government meetings. This is my 7th. Got 14 more to go. And it's a pleasure to be here. I've certainly enjoyed working with you and your predecessors for this my 21st year. I've particularly enjoyed during the time working with Councilman Ted Chase on innumerable planning and transportation issues, and he and I have probably attended at least 40 meetings together, maybe more, over the period of time, and I guess we'll be seeing each other. The Central Jersey Forum is having a full day event coming up soon. But again, I've certainly enjoyed working with you all. I wish you the best, and glad I could be here tonight. Thanks.
Well, sir, we thank you for your service, and in your waning days, perhaps you could have your meetings televised. We would be happy to show them here at Franklin Township.
That subject has been brought up from time to time.
Thank you, sir, for your service. Do I have a motion to open the meeting to the general public?
So moved.
Secondly.
Aye.
Very good.
Thank
We
you,
have a
Mr. Palmer.
moved and seconded. All in favor of opening the meeting for public session, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Meeting is open to the public session. Please, anyone wishing to come up, please state your name and address. And you're limited to 5 minutes. No yielding of time. You may only come up once. Ms. Powell, if you're under 18, you don't have to give your address.
Years of age.
Yeah, right. Linda Powell, 22 Buffer Drive. As a representative of the Franklin Township Task Force on the proposed compressor station 206 and the expansion of the pipeline, I would like to sincerely thank you for your support in fighting this compressor station and in protecting public health and safety. And it was Kirk, who you probably know, Kirk Force, another member of the committee, reminded me that it was almost a year ago today, 2 days from now, that you held a public meeting for people in the township about the issue, and we're thinking it may be time for another meeting. One of the things we're thinking about doing is having a public health hearing in conjunction with the Somerset County Board of Health, because as we know that all the compressor stations do leak toxins and pollutants and are associated with health problems such as neurological problems, childhood leukemia, other leukemias, lung disease, birth defects, and developmental delays, to name some of them. Also increased heart attacks and strokes. And I personally am very proud of you and how progressive you've been environmentally. And as you probably, most of you know, over the years, I've been a volunteer with Food and Water Watch and have seen you vote against water privatization, have you banned fracking, and also, of course, opposed the compressor station. And recently you joined the Climate Peace Accord. And so I got really excited because it seemed like the next logical step was to sign the Off Fossil Fuel Pledge. And I wanted us to be the first in the state to have all council members and mayors sign the pledge. So it ended up that we were not only first in the state, but we were first in the country. So there's one thing, Mr. Mayor, that you said that was incorrect, that there are no commendations tonight, because I have commendations to you and the council. I don't know if you want to come up or you want me to come over there. Because we have a certificate of appreciation, and this reads presented to
Like Council,
okay. Presented to Mayor Phil Kramer in appreciation and with thanks to the Franklin Township Council for being first in New Jersey and first in the United States in pledging to work towards getting off fossil fuels and onto 100% clean renewable energy. Certificate. Thank you very much.
oh, that's quite amazing, but Ms. Powell gets a lot of the credit because she came up here with the petitions, put them in our faces, talked about them, and got us all to sign. So that's pretty good. First in the nation. Very proud.
Hi there, council members, council president, mayor. Junior Romero with Food and Water Watch. I think Linda yielded her time to myself.
Actually, no, there's no yielding of time. Are you, Ms. Paul, are you done?
Yeah.
Okay, for now. We know that.
I want to thank you again for signing the Off Fossil Fuels Pledge, every elected member of the body here. And quite after this body signed this pledge supporting 100% renewable energy by 2035, the same goal that the nonpartisan U.S. Conference of Mayors supports. I just want to name a few of the other elected officials around the area here in New Jersey that have signed on. All of Highland Park, they were after y'all, so y'all did beat Highland Park, but the mayor and council did end up signing on. You have state senators like Senate Majority Leader Loretta Weinberg, Senator Vitale, Senator Deignan, that represents Middlesex County, Senator Turner that represents Mercer County, council members from Perth Amboy, from Highland Park, Piscataway, all even in South Jersey, where they're not as progressive as here in Central Jersey or Northern Jersey. Buena Vista Township, just folks from all over New Jersey have signed on to this pledge after the progressive vision that y'all all signed on to and supported from the beginning. So just thank you very much, and thank you for being so progressive, and thank you for leading the way.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Tibbs.
Johnny Tibbs, 25 Parkside. Good afternoon, everybody. I haven't seen you guys in a while, and I'll be as brief as I possibly can. There's a number of things. That's one thing about myself. I try to be consistent as possible. Number one, was a while back before I had asked you guys to reconsider the contractual agreement that you had with the health department of Somerset County, because you were being shortchanged in terms of the services that was being provided by that department, and it sort of undermines the critical illnesses that certain people might have in that particular area in which they're supposed to be serving. And you brought a gentleman up here that was a part of the health department from Somerset County, the black gentleman. He was a doctor, and he told you point blankly that they were not doing any type of services for the citizens in the area. He told you blatantly, very nicely, that he was not doing anything for the senior citizens in that particular area with 935 Somerset Street. And of course, the mayor, I think you cut him off very fast after you got him off the counter, because I think that everybody was listening to what he was saying. And he was not serving Franklin Township the way the construction agreement was supposed to say. And I hope everybody heard the gentleman, what he was saying and how he was saying it. He was very directly and very firm in terms of his non-compliance in terms of the contractual agreements. And I hope everybody heard that and will take a chance to make sure that you understand what the doctors just said perfectly clear, that what he was not able to do. Secondly, I'm kind of embarrassed that a number of people was asking me why we such a fine township and so forth, and diversity, and that why we didn't have a national night out. I think I talked to Mr. Horlock before that, Bob, about that, and I think last year. Well, it was a travesty that all the communities in this area had a national night out, and Franklin Township didn't. And we always boast about how well we get along with each other, and we boast about how many diversities of ethnic groups we have in Franklin Township. And it was a shame that you did not had the opportunity to use that Hamilton Street Police Community Relations Bureau, which we hope will be, to have that done with the number of the projects that goes on every year in the United States, matter of fact, and that Franklin Township didn't have none. A number of people asked me about that, and I told them I'll make sure I tell you guys, and hopefully next year we'll be able to get that done. Thirdly, I have come here several times. I don't know if I have to go to the EPA or not in terms of finding out whether or not the black community has a problem with lead in their water. Now, it's not anything to be candid about, but as the paper just said, lead was found in 4 New Brunswick schools. And the Brunswick schools, one of them, McKinley School, is directly across the street from Parkside. And I don't know if we use the same water system or not, but if I have to call the EPA tomorrow, I would ask them and request that they come into the 4th Ward in the black neighborhoods and test our water. Nobody has done that. I've asked you several times for that to get done, and it hasn't been done yet. And if we get a report to the Republic in terms of how much lead is in our water in the areas in that particular thing. Of course, you know about Flint, Michigan, and so forth. So I'm sure that it's a warranted request to be made. Last and least, we're known to be very progressive. I think you guys are very progressive in terms of the things that you, the issues that you face, and how you come about to take care of them. This marijuana, I have a very serious problem with marijuana. In terms of most of the state, even Cory Booker just came out recently, and they're proposing to legalize marijuana. I do not condone any young kids indulging in marijuana. Let me make that perfectly clear. But I think it's a component, it's incumbent about us to recognize the amount of money that certain towns collect in for taxes in their sales of marijuana. Now, I was told that there was a company came here just in terms of growing it. And I know that Franklin Township have some of the richest dirt in the country. And it would be a component about us to contact that company
Your time's
and
up.
to have that company indulge in the growing of, to lower our taxes in Franklin Township. I wish that you guys would take an opportunity
Your
to
time's
discuss
up,
that
Mr.
among
Tibbs.
yourselves. Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. By the way, that company was offering to grow medical marijuana, and it would only lower the taxes like any other property owner, any other rateable in town. There'd be nothing special about it being marijuana. So I believe all of the general public has spoken that is here in attendance.
Mr. Mayor, seeing that no one else is coming forward from the public, I make a motion that we close this portion of the public session.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor of closing public session, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Public session is closed. We are now on for council comments. I shall start with Mr. Prasad.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Reports, there was no land use meeting, community foundation meeting, or admin meeting. We did have the HRC meeting, and we did have it in the large conference room. We're ready for the cameras, Mr. Mayor. Glad to report that. And also, the HRC is very involved with the input for the new youth community center, and have been actively supporting that and are actively involved in that. I wanted to thank freeholder Peter Palmer. We have collaborated in the past. He's been good to Franklin and got us grants in the past. So he will be missed, and he was a voice of reason in Somerville. I'm also sorry to report to everyone that we lost our friend, Councilman Ricky Sumter, who represented the 4th Ward for a very long time and was also deputy mayor and mayor in Franklin. So his loss is a big loss, and we thank him for all his years of service. And of course, the compressor task force, we're grateful to you for all your effort and, just consistent effort that you're putting into it, and you haven't given up the fight. It is a marathon, and we'll continue to keep fighting. William still has to give some inputs into FERC that they're working on, and we are also gearing up for dealing with the DEP when it gets to move on various issues, including the baykeepers, etc. And also, thank you for getting all those extra people signed up as interested parties. And of course, the Climate Peace Accord, we're with Governor Jerry Brown. He's got the States and Cities Initiative, and we support him on it and believe that countries like China and India are taking the lead and saying they're going to have all electric cars by 2030, and we're going the opposite way. So anything to do to get off fossil fuels, we support it wholeheartedly. So thank you, Linda, and your whole task force for all your efforts. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Prasad. Councilwoman Sherman, I'm mixing it up. You're
Oh,
next.
okay, very good. You caught me almost off base here, but
keeping
that's fine.
people on their
I recover
toes.
quickly. I had the pleasure of attending another one of the Boys Council graduation summer, their summer program. That is a program run by the Franklin Youth Initiative, headed up by Bruce Medley. You probably have seen him here a number of times. He works over at the rec department and does head up the Boys Council. It's an amazing program, and Bruce does wonderful things. These are boys that may have had a problem if it weren't for the Boys Council, and school issues, but he helps to bring them around, let them understand how important the future is for them. And they put them through paces over the week that they're together. And it's not just Bruce, but a coach and Mr. Lou, who's a psychologist, works with these kids. It was delightful. It was delightful. They marched in, they sat down, they were attentive. It's like being in boot camp. But they graduated and they were very proud of themselves, and a lot of parents were there, and I was certainly proud of them too. And it's a wonderful program, and hopefully it will continue forever. We have a presentation on August 16th here at the council chamber. Todd, what's Todd? Poole, thank you. Todd Poole, our consultant. Yeah, Forward Planning is his company. Will be making a presentation to the community as to what he is recommending as far as a economic development plan for the township. Includes Hamilton Street, the Davidson Avenue, Elizabeth Avenue. Those are our first targets, and we'll have to see where it goes beyond that, but that's not a short-term program. That's a program that will take years to really develop and see the fruition of, but it's one that is so well worth it. I hope you will be there, whether you can be here in person or you watch it. I was delighted at what he came up with, the ideas and where the vision is for Franklin for the future. Again, I said this a few times about this program. We're not going to change the character of Franklin Township. It's a wonderful community. It's beautiful. People are extremely proud to live here, but we're bringing certain things up. We're raising the level for businesses, for jobs, for housing, for opportunities. So I think you'll like what you're going to hear. So please watch it or be here and participate and ask questions. Franklin Day Festival is in full bloom. I can't tell you how many meetings I've been attending, just trying to keep pace with what we need to do between the Parks Commission and Department of Public Works and my core team. And I have to say particular thanks to Safi Callan and to Bob Futcher. They really are carrying a lot of the load of the program and have been very willing to put out the effort necessary to do it. But it's coming together. Slowly but surely, it's going to be spectacular. And the weather is definitely going to cooperate. We have, just as a couple of added things, we have an aerialist. We have somebody who's going to perform 4 times during the course of the event, and that should be an interesting thing to have. We have the climbing wall back again this year. We'll have a petting zoo. We're hoping to have an obstacle course for the kids, and again, everything in the kids zone is free. Paddle boats, mini golf. It's a wonderful day for everybody, including the adults. We have at least 20 food trucks this year, and we will have 2 excellent bands and 100 tables plus of exhibitors to spend your money on. And we're hoping to correct the parking issue. Last year we had so many people, we were overwhelmed, but we've come up with some ways of resolving that, so you should not have that problem again this year. September 23rd, Colonial Park, 12 to 5. Please come. It's a great family day and it's a great community day.
Do you need volunteers?
We are putting out a call. Thank you very much. One thing, just really quickly, we got very lucky. September 23rd is Rutgers National Day of Service. So we managed to get they promised us about 45 volunteers, but that, with what we're doing, we certainly can always use volunteers. So there are articles going out, and the TAP newsletter and the Franklin Reporter and Advocate asking for volunteers. Certainly we need that. We certainly would like to have more sponsors and donors. We're running out of money. We're spending it quicker than we're able to pull it in. So we need the sponsorship money to help with the whole process. And there's a great art show that's going to be held at this too. So I've babbled on long enough. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman Sherman. Councilwoman Robinson, have you gotten it working yet, or? Okay.
I'm still working through some technical
Councilman
challenges.
Chase.
However,
However.
I just was, it was just one report, and that's for fire prevention.
Okay.
Just be on the lookout, and I'll make a report next month's meeting about carbon monoxide code changes. I
Okay.
believe it's for commercial and not residential. Okay, I see the township manager nodding his head, and that's just off my memory from fire prevention meeting. Other than that, I was not at public safety today, and I did not make the Hamilton Street Advisory meeting, and tomorrow is Housing Authority for me. So I'll make my report next month.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Olijaka.
Mayor, I don't have anything for today.
Then
Thank you.
then you have given my favorite report for the day. Councilman Chase.
First thing I want to say is that in late July, I think it was the 23rd, Arnold Vernick, who was a member of the Environmental Commission for about 10 years and chair for 8 years or so, died, and he will be very much missed for both his knowledge and his wisdom and his good conduct of the Environmental Commission. I really wanted to remember him. On the subject of carbon monoxide, Mr. Manager, have any Ford Explorer vehicles in our police department been checked for carbon monoxide?
I don't believe that we have any that were subject to the problems that Ford, that the years that the issues are being experienced on are ones that we don't have.
Trying to remember, I haven't had any committee meetings other than financial oversight, which the mayor normally reports on. So I don't think I have anything more to report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Francois.
Yeah, I'd also like to give my condolences to the Sumter family. Councilman Willis Rickety Sumter was a councilman here in Franklin Township. He passed away this past Saturday with stage 4 cancer. It's kind of unfortunate when I got the call. I was told he had like a week to live. He didn't even last that long. And but I want to say that he was the first Democratic councilman in Franklin Township. Well, not the first, but he served the longest with a bunch of Republicans for quite a period of time. And he was the lone Democrat on the council with myself, Harry Weber, Councilman Harry Weber, Councilman Alex Kuzma, and Councilwoman Joan Buncher got on the council. And at that point, the Township Council became Democratic controlled because Ricky was the fifth vote, and it's been Democratic controlled ever since. So he was a statesman. He carried the charge for us Democrats in the township for a very long time by himself. He will be truly missed. He lived here for a long time. His homecoming, I believe, is going to be over at First Baptist Church on Saturday. Unfortunately, I can't be there because I'll be at my family reunion this weekend. But I wanted to at least acknowledge him because he did a lot for the township, especially as the 4th Ward councilman. And with that, I want to also say that one of the things that I had planned on doing was inviting Ricky to an event that we're going to have on August 26th before I found out that he was passing, because I had kept in touch with him. We're going to have the Week of the People event on August 26th. It's a Saturday over in Naaman Williams Park, and he was very instrumental in getting that park renovated. And we will have a dedication for Mr. Naaman Williams himself on August 26th to kick off the Week of the People event from 2 to 3 p.m. And I'd like to pass these programs down to everybody in the council, and hopefully that each council person will be there. It's going to be a nice event. We're going to have the first police car that was ever driven in Franklin Township on display over there.
We are.
We're going to put up a plaque over by the flag poles. We're going to have our former mayor, Nancy Henry, who was the mayor during that time, that 35 years. Every time I talk, somebody's phone goes off. Every time. But she was the former mayor, Nancy Henry. She was the mayor at the time who dedicated that park to Mr. Lieutenant Naaman Williams. And he was the first African-American police officer in Franklin Township. So the family will be there. They've gotten T-shirts with the pictures of him and the police officers. During that time, we had like 5 police in Franklin Township.
In the beginning, we did.
And so, there's probably going to be a lot of reflections, a lot of stories, a lot of remarks. It's going to be a nice, very historical event. And it's a 35-year memorial of the dedication of that park that happened 35 years ago. So I want to welcome everybody. It would have been nice to have Willis Ricky Sumpton, councilman, there, because he was a police officer in Franklin Township. So this is kind of a surreal situation for me. But nevertheless, come on, come all. We're going to have refreshments. We're going to have bands. We're going to have acts. The Divas and Gents will be there for sure. The kids will be there acting up and having performances. We'll have light refreshments, and I believe a lot of the police from Franklin Township will be there. And then one more thing, Mr. Mayor, I normally don't talk a lot, but I wanted to say that on July 25th, we had our first Franklin Youth Center community planning meeting. And there were over 100 people in attendance over at the Franklin Middle School Library. And the people that came out were teachers, administrators. We had youth there. We had community leaders there. We had many different members of the community represented from every ward in Franklin Township. It wasn't just in that neighborhood. People came from all over because they were interested about the Franklin Youth Center. And they were interested in providing input to the design and the planning of that project. And there was a very high level of energy during that meeting. There was a very high level of interest in that meeting, and the next one we're planning to have is sometime late September or early October. And that meeting, I want to have youth only at that meeting. So it's going to be a youth planning meeting. And we're looking to have it over at that First Baptist. They gave us some dates, but we haven't nailed it down yet. Because school starts late, September 13th, we have to let them get back to school and then have it a couple weeks after they come back. So I want to thank everybody that came out. It was a very historical event. It's been over 50 years since we've been talking about a youth center in Franklin Township, and now finally we can see that this thing is, this project is going to come into fruition, and at some point we can be proud of what we're going to do to shape the lives and the future of our youth in Franklin Township. So again, look forward to more things to come, more good things to come in Franklin. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman. So I never served with Mr. Sumner. His term ended as my term began. But I went to many a council meeting where he presided. While we knocked heads many times, one thing I have to say is he cared quite a bit about Franklin. He was very proud of being mayor, and he did give his heart to Franklin. So sad to hear that he is passing. He's actually always a gentleman, at least to me. Councilwoman Sherman talks about Franklin Day. I talk about Canal Fest. It's October 14th. Music and a lot of good food that's bad for you. So come along on October 14th. An update on the cameras or the taping of meetings. I have finally finished my tour of the committees that I'm going to. The last one that I went to was right here for the Hamilton Street Advisory Committee, and they didn't take a vote, but they were all in favor. They were one short of a quorum at the time, so they didn't take a vote, but they were generally expressed that they were in favor of it. I went back to the Human Relations Committee, and there was a transformation among them. I think as they thought about it more, they seemed all in favor of it. So generally, most committees are in favor of it or welcome it. Human Relations is actually now meeting here so that they can easily be accommodated by what we're setting up. So I'm excited that soon most of our committees will be televised. And then the last thing I have to announce is, as everyone knows, the United States has signed off of the Paris Accords. So I am announcing, and I'm, let's say, 95% certain that it will happen, that Franklin will be hosting a mayor's summit on climate change on October 7th. My friend, the BOE president, but also director of the New Jersey League of Conservation Voters, is helping me and in fact is doing most of the heavy lifting on it. So we plan to have it here unless we are surprised by the number of people that come, and then we've also reserved the high school auditorium just in case. But this is, all elected officials are invited, and the meeting will discuss the current state of the planet, but also things that we can do locally, things that we might do to lower the carbon footprint of the town. So I'm very excited about that, looking forward to it on October 7th, and that is all I have. So, Mr. Manager.
Mr. Mayor, may I just ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Is the public invited to that meeting or only elected officials?
I think for right now, we're opening it to elected officials. We'll see, if we get the room full of elected officials, then it'll be limited to elected officials. But if there's room, then we could have public there as spectators.
Right. Obviously, the high school would be the venue should we open it to the public, but I just wanted to.
I hadn't thought about that. You kind of caught me off guard on it, but the idea is to get mayors together or elected officials together to try to come up with ideas. But very excited about it. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of things to report on. One, there's been a number of people who have questioned the progress of the South Middlebush Road bridge closure. I can report that Sergeant Hagman from the police department spoke with the contractor directly on site on Wednesday of last week, and they are on schedule. And weather permitting, they anticipate completion of that the first week of September. So that's some good news for you commuters through the spine of Franklin Township. Hopefully we'll have that open, and the plan is to have it open before schools open on the 13th of September. Also, there's been a number of questions about tax bills. I get to talk about all the fun things, traffic and taxes. So there was a delay in the issuance of tax bills by Somerset County due to last-minute changes in school funding from the state and the need to recalculate school state aid had an impact on what towns would do with either more or less state aid in their school budgets. Ours, as it turns out, stayed the same for this year, and they will be receiving additional aid that will be applied to the 2018-2019 budget. But the question then comes up about when are my tax payments due and what is the grace period. August 29th for all of you property owners who need to pay taxes and are listening, to pay your taxes without incurring penalty, you must pay them by the 29th of August.
And the last thing I want to speak about is just a little bit about what Councilwoman Francois spoke about with the Week of the People event. So I got a little involved in this, and sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. In this one, I took a little personal interest because it involves Lieutenant Williams, who was a police officer in Franklin Township from 1949 to 1976, a very long time to serve the town, and an interesting, piece of history, something that Franklin Township should be very proud of. In 1949, it was not a common occurrence for an African American to be a police officer in this country. And Naaman Williams served his country in the Navy and came out of the Navy and was hired as a police officer here in Franklin Township, served until 1976, and not only served the town as a police officer, but really as a resident and involved in church activities and in recreation activities, coaching teams, and was just generally a very much involved man here in Franklin Township. And when Councilwoman Francois came to me and talked about Week of the People, we had just got done installing flagpoles in Naaman Williams Park. There was a request for flagpoles for events. That actual request came from Councilman Onijaka, and so we installed flagpoles there. And I said, well, here's an opportunity. The police department never had a chance to put a plaque or a marker in Naaman Williams Park to tell people why it's named Naaman Williams Park. And so I did a little research, and our library has local newspapers online now. It's a searchable database. And I found out that it was 35 years, almost to the day. It was at the end of July that the park was dedicated Lieutenant Naaman Williams Memorial Park. So it kind of, everything came together. I contacted the police department, the Policemen's Benevolent Association, and Detective Ken Daly, who's also very much interested in township history and the police department's history, took an interest in it and made all the arrangements to have the rock and the plaque and everything done. The Public Works Department did the landscaping, and I think it's just a kind of a proud moment for Franklin. It's a proud moment for me as a former police officer here that we get to honor one of our own again, and his family is still here in town, and they're very excited about it. And so I think that everyone has an opportunity to come out as a community on the 26th, and I will be there, and we'll all get to honor Lieutenant Williams again, which I think is a wonderful thing. So that's the end of my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Vornlacher. Could you also report on the never-ending saga, also known as DeMont Lane?
Oh, sure. That was another one that I had on my list. Unfortunately, our internet is down, and I had that waiting for me, but I can't access. So DeMont Lane. So DeMont Lane from New Brunswick Road to Easton Avenue is scheduled to once again be paved, and some will say, how in the world could we pave the same road 3 times in less than a year? Well, the reason we're repaving it again is because we're holding the contractor accountable. He has yet to be paid because the job was found to be substandard the first time, and it was found substandard the second time. So we're requiring him as part of his contract with us to pave it to our satisfaction. So I believe Monday, this upcoming Monday, is when the paving begins. It will be from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. With the closures during the day and reopening at 6 o'clock, and it's anticipated that it'll take 4 days for them to mill and pave it to our satisfaction.
And now we won't have to pave it again for 60 years.
At this point, we should never have to pave it in a millennium.
Okay.
Can you also talk about the water testing? So I don't know that I have a whole lot more to add than I have already spoken a number of times, Councilman. We test our water. It's tested. With not by ward, but by system. It's not about black neighborhoods or white neighborhoods or any other kind of neighborhood. It's about a water system. Mr. Tibbs brings up the fact that perhaps one of the schools or several of the schools in New Brunswick tested positive. Generally speaking, when buildings like that test positive for lead, it has nothing to do with the water source. It has to do with the plumbing inside that building. We've experienced the same thing with some of our older schools here, and that our water continues to be tested on a monthly basis. It's over 50 samples a month are taken and submitted to the lab, and the reports are on our website if you'd like to see how our water has tested.
Okay, so now on to the approval of the small notes, also called minutes. I present the following minutes for approval to the Township Council. Work session, regular minutes, June 27, 2017, at 7 PM, and the Township Council executive session, June 27th at 2017. Do I have a motion?
Motion
accept
to
the
approve.
Second.
Moved in, seconded. Any discussion, any corrections? Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Chase,
Yes,
Councilwoman Francois,
Yes.
Mayor Kramer,
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka,
Yes.
Councilman Prasad,
Yes.
Councilwoman Robinson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman.
Yes.
Approval of the warrants. Warrants in the amount of $21,782,773.05 on August 8th, 2017 are presented to the Township Council for payment. Do I have a motion on the warrant?
Motion to pay.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion, any questions for the manager? I will again add what I've stated before. $21 million isn't all for Franklin. Some of that is going to schools and county, but it goes through us, so it's in our warrants. Seeing no other discussion, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Chase,
yes,
Councilwoman Francois,
Yes.
Mayor Kramer,
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka,
Yes.
Councilman Prasad,
Yes.
Councilwoman Robinson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman.
Yes.
We are now on to the main event, item 12, SFY 2017 Community Development Block Grants. Public hearing is in order for the 2016 action plan? What? Is that right? 2017 action plan. Little typo here. Do we have a motion to open to the public?
So moved.
seconded,
Moved and seconded, seeing no discussion. All in favor of opening to the public, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. We are open to the public for anyone to make comments on the block grant.
Mr. Mayor, seeing no one come forward for the public portion, I make a motion that the public portion be closed for this
Seconded.
particular item.
Moved and seconded, seeing no discussion. All in favor of closing public session, say aye.
aye,
Opposed? Say nay. Motion is carried. Public session is closed. Approving, so would you like to come up and speak before we approve?
Good evening, Deborah Mitchell, your Community Development Block Grant Coordinator. Our third-year action plan for 2017 has been posted on the Township website and duly noticed in the newspaper. The comment period was from July 10th to the 31st. We had an abbreviated comment period due to the late receipt of our HUD funding. The Township received $242,536,000. That funding was distributed in the following order: to housing rehabilitation, $40,700; to rehab administration, $13,700; total $54,400. The Arc of Somerset for bathroom renovations under public facilities, $35,250. The Sisters Network, $21,000 for their parking lot improvements. The Food Bank, $11,120 for their walk-in refrigerator. Center for Great Expectations, $6,600 for commercial refrigeration installation. To the Wyland Senior Center, $29,279 for kitchen and bathroom upgrades. Under Public Services, $5,200 for Family and Community Service, $5,200 to Home Sharing, $5,500 to Central Jersey Housing Resource Center, $5,200 to Great Expectations Child Care Program, $1,500 to Franklin Township Food Bank for their community farm, $5,000 to the summer camp for Franklin Township, $3,780 to the Boys and Girls Circle Club for the township, $1,000 to Grades for Life for an academic achievement program, New Jersey Orators, $2,500, Marie's Allied Technology, $1,500. And $48,507 to Planning and Administration. Upon your approval, we'll submit the grant one day this week, and hopefully we'll be ready to start on time for September 1st. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Mitchell? Being none, approving Resolution 17287, approving the filing of the FY 2017 Community Development Block Grant Action Plan is presented to the Township Council for adoption. Do I have a motion?
So
Motion.
moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Chase,
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois,
Yes.
Mayor Kramer,
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka,
Yes.
Councilman Prasad,
Yes.
Councilwoman Robinson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman.
Yes.
We are now on to item number 13, public hearings and adoptions of ordinance on second reading. So there, whenever an ordinance is presented, there are two readings. The first is essentially to announce it to the public, so they might know that a vote is coming up. And then the second reading, which has a public hearing, allows the public to come up to speak. And then there's a final vote from council. So ordinance 4208-17 is the brainchild of Councilwoman Robinson. So would you do the honors of reading the title?
Ordinance 4208-17, ordinance to amend the code of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, State and the State of New Jersey, more particularly Chapter 384, Water, Article 4, water rates and meter charges, Section 384-13, definitions in Section 384-14, minimum service rates for reduced rate users. And what this is for active duty, or excuse me, military personnel who have orders to fight in wartime to have reduction in their water service by 50%. And that's only when they're in wartime, which they would have to produce orders in order to get the reduced rates. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. The public hearing has been noticed and as required, is in order for public hearing and adoption. Do I have a motion to open to the public?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, seeing no discussion. All in favor of opening to the public, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. We are now open to the public for discussion on this item only.
Mr. Mayor, seeing nobody come forward for the public portion of this particular adoption of ordinance on the second reading, I move that we close it.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, seeing no discussion. All in favor of closing the public session, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Public session is closed. Do I have a motion on the item?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on the item? Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Chase,
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois,
Yes.
Mayor Kramer,
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka,
Yes.
Councilman Prasad,
Yes.
Councilwoman Robinson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman.
Yes.
We now have our ordinances on introduction and first reading, item number 14, and there are three ordinances we are introducing. Ordinance 4209-17, an ordinance amending the Code of Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, more particularly Chapter 226, Vehicles and Traffic, Section 226-30, on street handicap parking space, delete 234 Phillips Road and add 146 Barry Avenue. The foregoing ordinance is presented to Township Council for adoption on first reading, posting, publication in accordance with law, and public hearing and final adoption on Tuesday, September 12th, my mother's birthday, 2017, at 7 p.m. at the Municipal Complex. Do we have a
Motion for adoption.
We have a motion.
Second.
Moved and
Motion for
seconded. So this-
Introduction.
Introduction.
Right, thank you. So this item is essentially someone living in the area had a handicap sticker. They asked for a handicap spot. They are moving, and there was no need to have the handicap spot where they were, and we're moving it to where they will be. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Chase,
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois,
Yes.
Mayor Kramer,
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Councilwoman Robinson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman.
It is introduced. Ordinance 4210-17, an ordinance amending the Code of the Township, Franklin County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, and more particularly, Chapter 112, Development, regarding requirements for garden sheds. Foregoing ordinance is presented to Township Council for adoption on first reading, posting, publication in accordance with the law, and public hearing, and final adoption on Tuesday, September 26th, 2017, at 7 p.m. at the Municipal Complex. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. So this item is basically to kind of make it easier to have your own little garden shed near the property lines. As it was explained to me, if you had a garden shed that was 10 by 10, so 100 square feet, and you could put another one right next to it that was 10 by 10, so you'd have 200 square feet, but you couldn't put in a garden shed that was 200 square feet by itself. This is getting a little more sane. Any other discussion on the item? So, seeing no discussion, Madam Clerk, if you can multitask over there.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Mayor Kramer.
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Councilwoman Robinson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman.
Yes.
And it is introduced. Ordinance 4211-17, an ordinance amending the Code of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, more particularly Chapter 112, Development, Section 112-16. By the way, 112 is the land use ordinance. It's the biggest part of our ordinance. Zoning map and Article 35, Renaissance 2000 Development Plan. The foregoing ordinance is presented to the Township Council for adoption on first reading, posting, publication in accordance with law, and public hearing and final adoption on Tuesday, September 26, 2017, at 7 p.m. at the Municipal Complex. Do we have a motion?
Motion for introduction.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. This is essentially adding a commercial overlay to a small portion of the Renaissance redevelopment area to allow more flexibility in the area for commercial businesses. Is there any discussion?
Can you be more specific? What is the Renaissance 2000 redevelopment plan? Which area?
This would be the Leewood area, so right in the area of Irving and Somerset Street. This is just a few lots along Somerset Street that currently are zoned strictly residential. This would give flexibility to the redeveloper to develop them both as mixed use, really, as either commercial, residential, or both.
Thank you.
It's all part of the redevelopment area.
Been discussed at redevelopment?
Yes, it has. It's
They
been
approve it,
approved by the
obviously.
redevelopment agency.
I guess as we wouldn't be seeing it if they
And
had.
land
We would
use.
not. Oh, and land use.
Oh, and land use. Okay, great.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Madam Clerk?
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Mayor Kramer.
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Councilwoman Robinson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman.
It is introduced. We are now on to item number 15, consent agenda resolutions. Items A through AV, quite a number of them, as listed on the consent agenda portion of this meeting, are presented to the Township Council for adoption. Do we have a motion on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion, any items any council member wishes to pull?
Can I get an elaboration on item number AC?
Absolutely, Mr.
The positive is shared services agreement, Franklin Township Board of Education.
The recreation program.
Okay. Thank you.
And then, anyone else? I had one I wanted to bring to notice. I'm not picking up exactly which one it is, but one of them is for money to put in our emergency radio station so that Yeah, so that,
Aye.
oh, yes,
Aye.
aye, yes. So AM Emergency Travel Advisory Radio, so that when there's issues like Canal Road is closing, or Middlebush is closing, or Middlebush is opening, or there's power outages, et cetera, we can announce on that. It's just another way of reaching the public. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Chase,
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois,
Yes.
Mayor Kramer,
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka,
Yes.
Councilman Prasad,
Yes.
Councilwoman Robinson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman.
Yes.
Resolution, items to be voted on separately, number 16. Resolution 17-337, adjustment of assets values, 66 Culver Street and 214 Howard Avenue, is presented to the Township Council for adoption. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Could I just add something to this, Mr. Mayor?
I'm
Since we
certainly
did not
can.
discuss this, and you might be wondering what it is.
I
So as a reminder to all of the taxpayers and property owners in Franklin Township, when you get that little assessment card back in the beginning of the year that says what your new assessment is, look at it. And don't wait until you get your tax bill, and especially when you get your tax bill late, but the tax bills come after the deadline to file an appeal or to adjust things without having to do it by council resolution. In the case of these properties, the assessments had an error. There was a typographical error, and in one case, it nearly doubled the assessed value of the property, which made that person then question why their taxes nearly doubled in 1 year. Well, they didn't. It was a number error, and I would take credit for the finding of the error or the making of the error, but we did neither. The homeowner found it, and we didn't make it. It was made at the county tax board, and now it requires a council resolution to correct it so that they pay the proper amount of tax. So it's very important when you get that assessment card to look at it. And if you see something far out of the norm, then you should bring it to the attention of the assessor so that it can be adjusted before we get to this point.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. I'm surprised they're not here to advocate. Any other one wishing to speak? Madam Clerk?
Councilman Chase,
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois,
Yes.
Mayor Kramer,
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka,
Yes.
Councilman Prasad,
Yes.
Councilwoman Robinson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman.
Yes.
Old business, the 2017 boards, commissions. Anyone have a nomination? Hearing none, we are now going to go, well, if we get the motion, to go into executive session. Resolution 17-336, authorize executive session. We're going in on 3 items, I believe. Anticipated litigation, Williams Transco, acquisition of open space property, Gund property, Copper Mine Road, and affordable housing litigation is presented to the Township Council for adoption. Do we have a motion?
Motion for adoption.
Second.
I'm sorry, motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Adopt the resolution.
No, we're not adopting a
No, so
resolution.
moved.
We're going to discuss the adoption of a resolution, but this motion is to go into executive session.
Okay, motion for executive session.
It's motion to go into
Oh, I'm sorry.
executive session.
Okay, thank you.
It's because I'm doing it on paper today, that's
I
why
was
we're
doing-
confused.
I was doing so well. Do we have moved and seconded?
Yes.
Any discussion other than to pick on your mayor? I see none. Madam Clerk?
Councilman Chase,
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Mayor Kramer,
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka,
Yes.
Councilman Prasad,
Yes.
Councilwoman Robinson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman.
Yes.
At this time, the Township Council will adjourn to the executive session to discuss appropriate litigation, Williams Transco, acquisition of open space property, Gund property, Copper Mine Road, affordable housing litigation, and the meltdown of the mayor while reading this. No other actions will be taken by Township Council in conclusion of the executive session. Therefore, the recording of this meeting will now end. Have a good night. Be well, Franklin.